Voices serves as the megaphone for individuals who have endured transformational change. By highlighting trials and triumphs, our desire is to create a safe space for pivotal conversations, which in turn will deepen the story and provoke hope for you, our listeners. As you may know, change is never easy, but it is inevitable. You are not alone in what you're facing. Your transformation is possible, purposeful, and now. And here's Aaron Wiggum.
Hi, I'm Aaron Wiggum, and I am one of the hosts of New Voices. New Voices has served as a megaphone for individuals who have endured transformational change by highlighting trials and triumphs. Our show creates a safe space for pivotal conversations, which, in turn, will deepen the story and provoke hope for you, our listeners. As you may know, change is never easy, but it is inevitable. You are not alone in what you are facing, and we want to thank all of our listeners who have tuned in to these stories throughout the years. In this final batch of episodes for 2025, we are going back to some truly amazing stories from past episodes. I have had truly inspirational humans come on this show and bare their souls through personal stories and triumphs. In these episodes, we are applying a few different lenses that will be familiar to avid listeners, such as the role of Tulsa as a setting for transformational change, also holding on to hope, and the impact of a strong pivot on one's life trajectory. By going back, we are also looking forward for new voices. In 2026, we are evolving, and we can't wait to share this journey with you. In this episode, Tulsa, Oklahoma is not just a setting, but a character in the lives of our guests, and even mine. We are taking a step back to check in with guests who changed Tulsa, but also let Tulsa change them. Starting off with Montana Cain. Let me tell you, this is one special human being. The moment we met, we clicked, and she has really taken off to do amazing things and starting her own consultancy, now becoming a mother, and checked off so many things off of her vision board. I'm really proud of her. Wait till you hear her story.
You have to first be willing to plug in. You have to first make yourself.
Absolutely.
You have to take that risk to just like, I'm going to take the leap. My first year, I did what was familiar to me, right? So I plugged into my sorority because, of course, Sigma Gamma Rho. Yeah.
Okay.
But you plug into like what's familiar. So the gym.
Yes.
I plugged into my sorority and things like that because it was comfortable and familiar to me.
Right.
And then I slowly started to, once I got tired of my house, because I was working from home remotely. And I was like, okay, let me start going to Tulsa. Let me start going to 36 degrees. And so once I started plugging in more, that's when I got more comfortable because I was able to see. So it's all about exposure.
Yeah.
But my first year I was scared. And that was around the time that I met you because I was like, okay, Tar, like, because I was going through another change. Like, I'm here in Tulsa. So for me, it was like, I need a change in location. But I realized I was just going through this shift, and you have to really learn to listen to your body and like listen to the world around you. Everything, I knew that Tulsa was right for me because everything lined up.
Yeah.
Like, I sold my house in a year. In a day.
Yeah.
I got the apartment that I wanted on the floor that I wanted after they told me they only had a wait list. They were like, after I called them and said, okay, I really do want to get in, they were like, oh, we don't have anything available. And I was like, well, I'm not moving. And then she called me back within an hour. I was like, hey, you won't believe it, but someone just broke the lease for the apartment that you wanted. You know what I mean? Or for the floor that you wanted.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, God.
Yeah.
Like,
what is this?
I'm trying to not do this, but you're making it too easy. Like, everything lined up. So So I got here because I knew I needed that shift. But then once I was here, it was another shift because I realized like my position wasn't it. Like, the job that I had got me here.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the right position for me.
Yeah.
And then I had another transition because I thought it was a job. So I switched to another job. And I was like, okay, maybe this job is going to be it. That one wasn't it. And that's around the time I was like, okay, am I supposed to leave like this job? Am I supposed to go to go move up in a corporation? Do I start my own business? So I had all these different decisions that I had to make in the midst of being in this new city. and then realizing, oh, they have all these resources here for me. So I think the biggest thing for me in Tulsa is like, I'm not alone.
Right.
So once I plugged into 36 and started connecting with more people, I'm like, I'm not the only one who's having this life shift. I'm seeing more Black founders, because you don't, when you see that, you don't, like, I think of Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Like when I think of business owners and entrepreneurs, there's a certain group of people that I see that don't look like me.
Right.
And so when I'm plugging in, I'm like, oh, wait, this regular person who I just saw at Trader Joe's, like, you got a whole business?
Right.
You know, when you start seeing it's regular people doing big shit,
Absolutely.
you realize, like, oh, I can do it too.
Yeah.
And I think that was another, like, a mental transition for me of, like, you can do it. And my whole thing has just been, why not?
Right.
Like, why not?
Yeah.
Like, what's the worst that can happen?
100%. I had a very similar experience. Got the call about opportunity here in Tulsa, and when I finally had the moment where it was like, okay, let's explore this, I remember I told my wife, I said, hey, let's do this. Let's see what's cooking. We'll put the house on the market. Like, same thing here. House sold within 24 hours.
Yep.
We got asked for it. This is before the housing spike happened, you know, and we sold the house for ask. They offered us relocation and all these other different incentives that they were piled on, and so it was like everything that I would say that would be a no, I already became a yes, and so what am I saying no to now? Like what like. Am I holding myself back? What am I holding myself back from? Right.
Listen.
And it was the fear of the unknown. And I needed, to be honest with you, I needed the deck to be stacked that high for me to jump out of comfort. If I would have stayed where, I mean, cause I was cool where I was. I wrote my last couple job descriptions at my old job. I told them what I wanted to make. They gave it to me. I had my offices. I had 2 offices, one on campus, one off campus. Like, I created the space that I wanted, and I didn't have any complaints, to be honest with you. But I was comfortable.
Right.
And you can't be comfortable and transformative at the same time.
Oh, no.
And so I wouldn't be able to do the work I'm doing now if I would have remained comfortable.
Yeah.
But I needed the deck to be stacked enough for me to jump out of comfort, out of the frying pan into the fire, right? To be able to jump out of comfort into this unknown territory. And so, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and that for me, it's like the discomfort was even letting me look at other options, because sometimes when you're so comfortable, you don't even explore options.
Exactly.
So it was because I did not like my job, like with my last in office job. Like, they acted up, and so like it was an experience where I was like, I have to go, because I was comfortable there. Like, I was a director of evaluation. I loved my team. But I got uncomfortable, which made me look for the job that was remote. You know what I mean? But I would have never looked for a remote job before.
Right.
I would have never even left that job before, but I got so uncomfortable, I had to go.
Yes.
And so sometimes that discomfort allows you to even explore other options.
Absolutely. So. Yeah. It reminds me of, how a mother eagle, she doesn't teach her eaglets how to fly. All she does is, when they get to a certain point, she plucks out the bottom of the nest. And it's fly or die. Right.
Well, yeah.
It's fly, but she unsettles the nest to where you gotta
want to stay here.
Yes. You got to make a move, right?
Oh yeah.
And so that's powerful. And so let's talk about JMC Consulting Firm. What was the impetus for that, and what gave you the gumption to kind of like step out on your own and activate yourself?
Yeah, again, divine timing. And when I tell you Tulsa is everything, like, Tulsa is everything. I can honestly say, hands down, it would not have happened if I were not in Tulsa.
Yep.
And I think I met you at that pivotal moment, because when I met you, and it was early 2022, I was in a place was like, okay, my job was just, when I tell you uncomfortable, uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, it was a job, I was overworked. It was just not a good space for me. I was tired, and I was thinking, okay, maybe I need a corporate job. So at the time, for my 40th birthday, I bought myself a career coach, because I was like, okay, I think I need to be in a higher position. I need to be like something, this ain't right, but I don't know. I knew I needed guidance. So I had a career coach, and I remember we had one conversation, And we were kind of working towards my own business. And I remember I came back to her in a meeting and I was like, you know what? Actually, I don't want to do my own business. Let's focus on getting me a corporate job. I want to be an executive. And she was like, okay, so first of all, I'm going to support you, but is this out of fear or clarity?
Oh.
And I said, oops, sis, did you just let me pick up my face off the floor? Because I realized it was out of fear. I was like, and she was like, okay, and this one meeting with her, and she was just like, so what are you scared of? And I was like, what if I don't get jobs? What if I don't get clients? What if I can't sustain myself? What if like all those? And she's like, okay, well, let's come up with a plan to mitigate that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. So we did that. And then I met you. And then the New You program came about. Hey. And it was in the middle of that. Whoop, whoop, whoop. New. And so I started in New You. Was that in
February? February 3rd.
Yeah, and so it was a perfect transition because I was transitioning with her in March. Was my last meeting with her. I started New You in February. And so it just kind of kept that going. And then we had a conversation there. And so the same theme came up. And I remember you were telling me about the gazelle because I was still scared.
Yes.
Like I remember like, I want to quit my job so bad, but I'm so scared.
Yes.
And you were like, okay, so you told me the story because you always got a story about animals. I don't know about Pittsburgh and farms, but anyway.
Oh, you know what?
But you always got a story about animals. But you talking about the antelope. Yeah. Like the antelope doesn't jump because it doesn't know where it's going to land.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's right. I'm not jumping if I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, but the lion just leaps. And I was like, you know what? Yeah. And like that became, I was like, I just need to be a lion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so in the middle of the New You program, I quit. I put in my notice. I didn't have a job lined up. But I knew I was like, I'm gonna give myself 3 months.
Yeah.
And if I don't have a job, and I was like, how much time do I have before I start stripping, right? Like I had to like, how much is in my bank account? Okay.
Yeah.
But I gave myself 3 months. I was okay. If you don't get contracts, if you don't have any traction in those 3 months, then you go find a job. Because I was like, and I have to think of myself. I have to start asking, what's the worst thing that can happen, and can I live with that? And the worst thing that can happen is you find a job.
Yeah. You just go back to work.
And I was like, you know what? That's not so bad after all.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so that kind of started that. And at same time with New You, being a part of New You plugged me into just the other networks because I was in New You, and then I was also doing I was also going to 36 More to plug in, and then connected with Desiree and Ashley Sims with Building Tulsa.
Yep.
I did the entrepreneurship and residence program.
Yes.
Like the application is free. Why
Shout
not?
out to Building Tulsa.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
When I tell you the support from them has just been phenomenal, and can't forget Kai Harris on that team as well. But yeah, and so did the entrepreneurship and residence program, and then for there, I was specifically around other entrepreneurs because you have a dedicated desk,
right? And
so it just kind of slowly happened. And again, when I tell you everything has lined up, I haven't had to really promote the business quite yet because a lot of it has been coming from referrals.
Yeah.
Like people reaching out to me like, hey, I need an evaluation. Do you still do evaluations? Because I always, as Black, we always have a hustle.
Right.
So I always had like 1 or 2 projects in my back pocket along the way, but it just grew. Yeah. And it's just been, I don't know, like it just kind of unfolded. And so there's James C. Consulting Firm, and we are unapologetically about equity, collaboration, and action. So making sure that data is used for action, not just on the shelf. And even to the point where it's in my contract.
Yeah.
Like when you work with me, these are the conversations that we're going to have, and that we are going to have an action planning session. We're going to talk about sense making. So for me, it's just been learning the business, and then just what are those things that I'm not willing to budge on. And I just have an amazing team of Black women. Ryan Cook is one of them who's on my team, and she's my admin assistant and my social media person.
Shout out to Ryan.
And I just have an amazing team of just Black women in Tulsa specifically who have been a part of my team. So that's, it's just been, amazing.
Next, this young lady is a force to be reckoned with when it comes to money moves and financial literacy. Even more so, she's a delightful, values-oriented entrepreneur with a passion for financial empowerment through education. I bring to you none other than Raquel Wilson. Let's go way back to, Raquel as a young lady finding her way. Yes. Tell us where to start. Give us a little bit of the Raquel story.
Well, I always like to mention that I'm from Ohio, the original O state. All right.
O-H.
I am.
All right now.
Don't get it twisted out here in Oklahoma, right? Yeah. But I always say that Ohio is a very important part of my upbringing. Okay. I mean, I am an only child and was raised in an area that I always say wasn't in the hood, but it was around the corner.
It was hood adjacent.
It was hood adjacent.
Okay.
So I was very familiar. City? Toledo, Ohio.
Toledo.
Yes,
that's Funktown right there.
Glass City, Holy Toledo, depending on how you know it, right?
Okay.
And I grew up going to private schools, but that was really my parents' main investment. They didn't have stocks, they didn't have bonds. bonds. They invested in my school, you know? Yeah. So I always grew up understanding the value of education. When I went to the Ohio State University, I always knew that I wanted to help people. At first, I went into dentistry because I figured, you know, confidence, that's key. And even in you, we talk about confidence and the importance of knowing yourself.
Hence the amazing smile.
Thank you.
She's a believer in what she's preaching. I like it.
But also it comes down to knowing your values. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And I shadowed my dentist and realized, you know, this doesn't align with my values. Let me find something that allows me to engage more on a grassroots level. So then I started to look into public health, which is everything that affects your health outside of your doctor, the street roads that you have access to, the playgrounds you have access to, the food you have access to. Shout out food deserts in Tulsa and North Tulsa, right? And I found my way actually working with education, which is a way that a lot of people don't think about that affects your health. The education you have access to affects your literacy, not only your financial literacy, but even your medical literacy.
Everything.
What do you do when your doctor gives you a prescription and you don't know what it means to actually take it, right? That affects your life.
Yes.
And I started working in the Supreme Court with their education agency, and during the time of Me Too, which was, you know, a time to be alive, right?
It wasn't with Clarence Thomas and them, though, right?
I mean, no.
I'm joking.
More so working with the judges and court officials throughout the country, and making sure that they were educated not only on the hot topics such as Me Too, but also just continuing their education and finding ways to eradicate the school to prison pipeline, which I didn't really know that I was doing back then, but now looking in hindsight and seeing the thread through my story, I now see that's what it was. So during that summer interning in DC, I ended up getting recruited for Teach for America.
TFA.
Shout out to TFA. It was divinely aligned. My co-intern, she recommended that I check it out. I got recruited literally the same day on LinkedIn.
Wow.
And I applied. I interviewed, and when I interviewed, I put Tulsa as number 7 of 10 on my preferences list.
Okay. 7.
I didn't want to necessarily be here.
Right.
But I started to see the value once I got my placement.
Do you remember what was 6 and 8?
Ooh, I think it was, I remember my top 4.
Okay, what was top 4?
I had DC, Houston, I think it was LA, somewhere in California, and then Philadelphia.
Okay, so you wanted to be in chocolate places.
I wanted Chocolate City. That's where I was. I was excited to go back and serve there. I saw the need.
Got you.
But as I did more research on Tulsa, we had to select one, of our list of 10, we had to select one city that was great need. And Tulsa was identified as a high need city.
I see.
And I started to do some more research. I learned a little bit more about the Tulsa Race Massacre. And even back to your original question, I ended up finding out after I moved here that my grandfather lived in Tulsa for a long time in his youth. So that even opens up like a whole nother aspect of my ancestry and my upbringing and my legacy in relation to Tulsa. So from the original O State, but I stay here because of education and because of entrepreneurship. And being a Teach for America alumni, I taught biology, moved into financial literacy actually, because I saw the need for my students, like as business owners, which I'm assuming there are some business owners that listen to this podcast and watch, business owners solve real world problems.
That's it.
Through their commerce solutions. And I saw in my classroom, I was experiencing the racial wealth gap every day with my students, with my parents, teaching through COVID. Like before and after the semester switch, when we never went back to school, right? So my business that's all about minority-friendly personal finance came from the work that I did in the classroom and working directly with my students. So now I'm no longer a teacher. I still work in the school system and fundraise for the best kids in Black Wall Street. But that's really what keeps me here, entrepreneurship and education.
Nice. I love that. I love that. Thank you for the very eloquent outlay of your past.
Tulsa is a city where social capital matters.
Yes.
I learned this phrase in college. It's not what you know, it's who you know. What you know keeps you there, but who you know gets you into the room.
Gets you there.
And Tulsa is a city where that is very true. Even as a mentor to some amazing North Tulsa women entrepreneurs, they talk about how they don't see the resources that are so easily available to some other groups. And for that reason, sometimes it seems like there's like kind of a glass ceiling or maybe some gatekeeping, intentionally or unintentionally. And I think that for me, I decided that no matter what the hurdles were, I was going to lean into my value of relationships. Yeah. That's what the R in Raise the Bar stands for, relationships. So that's a true value to me. Through organizations like Build in Tulsa, I was able to do that. Of course, New You, an online organization called Sky's the Limit, which provides grants for entrepreneurs. That's how I funded my first book through that grant program. And at the time, they only had feet on the ground in Tulsa.
Right.
So I saw the disparities being with Teach for America, which is an organization I had to take out loans to move here and serve. But I said, no matter what, I'm going to find these resources, and I made the connections. And then also asking for connections from people that I was able to connect with and grow with and find similar interests with, right? Not just superficial connections, but really seeing how can we work together? Yeah. Where do we both agree Tulsa needs to grow towards, regardless of what sides of the fence you are on, and actually doing the work to make that happen. So making sure that you lean into relationships.
Yeah. No, I love that. I absolutely love that. And you're 100% right. You know, Tulsa is definitely a relationship city. This is not the city you burn bridges in. Like, you make sure that you keep relationships warm, and that you, you know, it's a very kind city. People don't have a problem meeting with you.
Very polite.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, all right, enough about Tulsa. So what I would love to do is spend some time, like I said, we talk about pivotal moments in your life, right? And you've been a scholar. Congratulations on your induction into the Notre Dame Hall of Fame. Is that right?
Thank you. Yes. So back in Toledo, I went to Notre Dame Academy, same patron saint as Notre Dame University.
Yes.
And this past spring, I was inducted into their Hall of Fame, the youngest ever inductee and the fourth ever Black American inductee.
Give her some love, Jesse. Give her some love. Give her some love.
Hey. Yeah, like, too sweet. Thank you. It was a humbling experience. Of course, it was an honor for me to be inducted with I think it was called the Professional Achievement Award. And to be so young, I feel like, no, there's nowhere near complete achievement. I think it was a great material success.
Yeah.
But for me, success is just walking in the purpose and calling that God has called me to do.
That's it.
So I already felt success before then. I'll continue to feel success as long as I walk in the right direction.
Yeah.
But I was just so humbled and excited to continue to inspire Black alumni at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard going to any PWI and not having the resources. But also education nowadays is hard, which is why I do the work that I do in fundraising. So it was a great honor.
Everything you've done, you've never done it before. You've never done it before. You know what else you haven't done before? You've never seen April 20th, 2023, right? But you're going to go and see it, right? You've never seen July 1st, 2023, but you're going to make plans to go wherever you're going to go, and right? And so
Essence Fest, check us out.
There we go. I love that, right? And so being able to condition yourself to realize that, like, whatever is new to me, I'm not new to it. You know, walking in already qualified. Like, I don't care what the opportunity is. If they call me, I'm here because you called me. I'm not here because, it doesn't matter if I'm the brightest person. And I wrestled with that a little bit when I got here because I was, I'm getting a little longer in the tooth, right? And when I got here, I was just turning 40. I was just turned 40 when I got here. And I'm at this venture capital fund. These guys are smart. And women, these men and women, they're smart, they're ambitious, they've worked $1 million deals, $100 million deals. They're young, they're all 35 and under, right? I'm the oldest. They would call me uncle in the company. I'm like, I'm uncle, I'm 3 years older than you. Like, what you and so, but I started to look around. I'm like, I'm with these thoroughbreds out here. Can I keep up? And I had to realize, well, that's the path that they've been on. This is day one. You've never been in venture before. You're coming from higher ed and, from ministry and from all these other. You've never done this before.
But you know what you've done before?
What's that?
The transferable skills.
You better watch out now. So what I did was I looked into my reservoir, and I had to requalify myself. And you know what? For all I don't know in VC, this is what I do know. I know people. And it don't matter what the system or the tactic or whatever. People are people. And what you may know is formulas and data and this and that. but you don't quite know people. And so what I could tell you is this strategy will work. And as I got the vernacular and I got the lexicon, I started to build my chops. I was like, okay, so y'all ain't even saying nothing over here. I ain't got no reason to be intimidated about it.
You saw the value of the skills you were bringing.
Yeah.
People, oh my gosh, people skills are so important.
Yes. And being able to assert yourself in any community and bring out the gold in people, help them to realize their value, no matter if they have millions or whether they have dust in their pocket. Like, there is value, there's intrinsic value to you. And so, needless to say, I don't know how we got into that. I was while you were speaking though, I was hearing that, you know, you're already qualified. It doesn't matter, you know, but I know that there is a wrestling that happens with, you know, oftentimes in Black and brown communities and in BIPOC communities, period, where you have to deal with this imposter syndrome where you're sitting at the table and you're saying, like, do I deserve to be? Why am I in this seat? And then realizing that being in this seat makes you now have to advocate for everybody who's not in this seat. And you may be the only person at the table that looks like the people you're representing. And you have to do that with full gumption and full authority, right? Realizing that these people are entrusting you to say the right thing for what's going to happen in their lives. And so kudos to you, for stepping up. And we're going to get into your how you just blossomed here over the last 18 months or whatever. But how you stepped up, you went from TFA into this role at KIP. I remember when you came and told me, he's like, I got the development role right after New You, and you stepped right into that role. And then at the same time, you were launching your books. And so we had a conversation, and this book, this 3-part book, was one book.
Yes.
And we had several conversations. You were going to do a book release. I said, well, try this place, whatever. I said, wait, why are you doing 3 books? How about have you talked to your editor about that? Have you? Yeah, what do you think I should do? And we had this whole conversation, and out of that, your books became a series.
Yes.
Right?
The Black Wealth Freedom series.
Yes. I love it. Finally, this man is one of the reasons I ended up in Tulsa. A true Renaissance man and leader in entrepreneurship. Mike Basch is truly a remarkable person. And he is actually has been catalytic in my life. He was instrumental in recruiting me to Tulsa. And most importantly, has left such an indelible, lasting impression on me as an individual and how I look at opportunities. Mike is a go-getter. He is going to swing the bat, and he is going to hit home runs. And I'm using that analogy because he was a baseball player. But he is a home run hitter, and I'm glad to call him my friend. None other than Mike Basch.
But I visited Tulsa, and you know, the gathering place was a year away from being open, and the arts district just opened 36 degrees north and some apartments, and it like kind of felt like some momentum was building. And I got connected with the George Kaiser Family Foundation, and at the time, you know, 99% of their philanthropy was here, but 99.9% of their investment was not here, and they're doing nothing early stage. And you know, one of the big lessons for me from Wisconsin was, you know, Milwaukee and Madison were doing fine, but when you went to like Oshkosh and Green Bay, you could see beat up houses and empty factories. And like you could see, like, you know, people felt left behind. And in places like Tulsa, you know, fossil fuel based industry, old industry, like, you know, making America great again, looking back at some of these older industries, like I could see how that would resonate.
It looked bleak.
And so helping GKFF think through the early stage investment strategy, how to diversify the economy, how to keep the smart, talented, you know, young people from leaving, because you have a huge brain drain and like those kinds of things. And then doing so through the lens of a founder and a startup investor. And so, you know, together we kind of started doing some local strategies and some local investing. And then we built Atento Capital, which, you know, invests in, we say we unlock unsung potential through financial and human capital and bridging networks. And we really say, you know, there's a huge swath of, you know, most simply, talent is distributed evenly in society, both geographically, racially, gender-wise, but opportunity is not.
It's not. That's right.
And if we can help focus on the places that have the same talent, you places and people that have the same talent, but not the same opportunity. There's there's economic upside in that, and also the ability to unlock real potential in that.
Absolutely.
And so that's what we do. It's fun. And it's meaningful. And it really is, hopefully, I like to think of the intersection of doing good and doing well.
Yeah.
Which to me is like, and it's nice, there's now 12 members of my family in Tulsa. I joke we're 1% of the Jewish community here, population. But that, allows me to both, play a role to help with the finances of my family, as well as to kind of honor the tradition and values that I was raised by, and by my parents and Judaism as a whole of Tikkun Olam. And so that's how I spend my time.
Man,
it's a long story.
No, it was great. It was great. We can go home now. No, thank you for taking us through that timeline. It's such a powerful story, Mike. And I've told you this a million times. I'm going to tell you again. You need to write a book. Yeah. All right. It's now documented. You need to write a book. So I want to go back to the clips that you had to watch of the Holocaust survivors. All right. I'm intrigued by how those images, or the sum of those images, has bubbled up in your life at different times, right? I want you to speak a little bit to I want to look at that as an investment in you, right? Because you said you became this capitalist, you're from selling lemonade to selling coffee to selling whatever, right? But that was really an investment into your character to have to, as a child, chronicle these things, or to catalog these things, and then for it to bubble up years later on, like it was a grounding. It sounds like it was a grounding point in your life. Can you speak a little bit to that from an investment lens, like how that was an investment into who you are as a person, having to do that role?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. Like, I think what an interesting society it might be if we organized collectively to have like old age homes, have like structured babysitting of like 6 to 10-year-olds, in which like the old people would get the stimulation from the kids,
right? And
the kids would get to listen to stories about the old people, and like the experience transfer and the empathy that it would like give the children would be kind of priceless, and it give purpose to the old people, and like what a kind of no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
And I think like, especially as I look at my life, for the most part throughout, I've always been very fast moving, hard charging, not leaving a ton of time for headspace, which is maybe not something I should really work on. And so, that experience where most of my friends were either at camp or at the mall or playing video games.
Yeah.
Here I was like in a dark room, like cataloging, these videos of pretty heavy things. And I do, I don't know if there's trauma from it, but I do think it's led me to, it truly did. It was an out of body experience that I had to go to work for.
It had to be.
Like it wasn't something I had to. And when we on the state of Oklahoma banned abortion in June with Dodd's, or I guess the Supreme Court had Dodd, and the state of, passed abortion. I remember my daughter, Olivia, was born, I think, a week after that. And we had her baby, did a baby naming, and I was in tears. And it's like, here will be all of these poor women that won't have control over their bodies, all of these kids who will be born into really rough circumstances that will have a society that's not really doing much to help them once they're born.
Yeah.
And God forbid, my daughter has, a woman gets pregnant and there's complications, et cetera. It's like, not in all situations can they even get the access to the healthcare they need.
Yeah.
And so I did the best I could, and I'm still doing the best I can to try, and I am with a group of people that are like working on brainstorming and actioning different things to make progress in female reproductive healthcare. And I might be the only straight white male in that group. But like, I feel like it is my obligation, our obligation as a society, as someone that is least personally impacted to take deep action to try and fight for those that are most personally impacted.
Absolutely.
And as a society, that is what didn't happen in the 1930s and 40s in Germany. And like that, like some of those lessons, the older I get, the more I realize how little I know. And the older I get, the more I realize that, and especially if you listen to a lot of things now about empires falling, et cetera, and the United States I'm getting economics, so I'll get off it. But there's much to be learned from history.
There is.
And so, yeah, watching, if you are watching 100 plus firsthand 2 hour plus testimonies of a period of time from different perspectives and different learnings and different the areas of focus and ways and overlaps and differences, really gave a pretty specific insight and worldview on takeaway of that is always in somewhere my mind or soul of a factor in decisions. Yeah. And I think different people have different versions of that for themselves. And I think it's important to connect to that and know that that's within you and incorporate that how it makes the most sense for you.
Absolutely. As you can see, Tulsa, Oklahoma is a ripe landscape for transformational change once the community started to recognize and invest in human development. New U is so grateful to be a part of that journey, that story for so many individuals. In the next episode, we take a look at what holding on to hope looked like for some of our previous guests, and I hope you'll join us.
Thank you for listening to this episode of New Voices. Visit our website at www.newuunlimited.com. That is NEWUunlimited.com. Follow us on social media at New U Unlimited on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And a special thank you to our producer, Jesse Ulrich. If you're looking for self-improvement, join our programs for personal and professional development. New U is a way for diverse talent to imagine, discover, and actualize a 2.0 version of yourself. Bring your future into focus.